The ban of WeChat could ban almost everything. Facebook has absolutely slammed Apple's App Store restrictions. That is personally from an article I've written. I'm super glad to announce that we are now writing articles on the Dynamic Digital website. Some articles will be on there from today's episode, some will not. I'm still working on an easy way to write the articles, if that makes sense. It takes a while, but we do have a first article on there. And Apple says that iOS games need individual review. That is linked into Facebook releasing Facebook Gaming and also calling out Apple for its App Store restrictions. So I think today we're going to start with Facebook. My name is Luke. This is Dynamic Digital World, and let's get started. So first thing I want to say before I do this is I am currently on the webpage for the Dynamic Digital World podcast, and wow, so the webpage currently has 3 tabs. So there's a home tab, as you would expect, it just takes you to the home page. Then there's also some other tabs, just including a Facebook Gaming, including a listen tab where you can listen to all the podcasts in relation to the Dynamic Digital series of podcasts. And then there's finally, last but definitely not least, is a news tab. So that's where you'll see all of the stories I published and be able to access them. I am still currently experimenting with the way I kind of frame these stories, so the format of it is subject to change over time as I want to get it working as well as I can. But Facebook Gaming has officially arrived on iOS, however there are some major differences. And Facebook is also calling out Apple for its App Store restrictions. So Facebook has officially launched its Facebook Gaming app on iOS, but now it has one major difference compared to its Android counterpart. In the Android version of Facebook Gaming app, you'll have the option to play minigames inside the app that are based off of HTML5. However, due to certain App Store restriction policies, the iOS version cannot have this feature. Facebook's Chief Operating Officer, Sheryl Sandberg, released a statement saying, quote, "Unfortunately, we had to remove gameplay functionality entirely in order to get Apple's approval on the standalone Facebook Gaming app, meaning iOS users have an inferior experience to those using Android," end quote. Okay, I just want to pick apart on that a bit. Inferior, it definitely does make it sound like Apple is trying to diminish the experience there, and this quote is it's a fairly subtle kind of slam at Apple for what they've been doing. For those who are unaware, Apple are very well known, let's say, for their let's just say the way that they handle these sorts of things. They don't really like certain things on their apps where they don't have full control. Now, Facebook had initially planned to release the app at the same time as the Android version back in April, but when attempting to release the app, Apple rejected it, saying that it violated its rules. The rule that Apple are referring to, states that HTML5 games are allowed when code distribution isn't the primary purpose of the app. Personally, I don't understand exactly what that means, but yeah, anyway, basically that's the rule. However, it's not the first or last time Apple has or probably will reject an app for allowing access to games. Recently, the xCloud game streaming app from Microsoft was rejected, and Google Stadia's streaming service has been restricted as well, so you can't actually stream games from the app. So currently it's more like Microsoft's current Xbox Game Pass app than its Android counterpart, and GeForce Now is still yet to attempt the launch. So yeah, this is kind of very, I'm gonna say it, classic Apple. They've done this sort of thing multiple times before, and I can see them doing it again. So let's go on to iOS games needing individual review from Apple. So basically, cloud gaming is currently taking off massively. I use it on my phone. It is amazing, especially when you've got stock firmware that you haven't messed around with. That really helps the Wi-Fi, the Bluetooth syncing on devices. Could also just be to a newer phone, I don't know. Anyway, now OnLive was actually a streaming service for iPads years ago, and it did exist, but it's not exactly making that one, and Apple's devices are going to be sitting this round of cloud gaming out. Stadia and GeForce Now have yet to make an iOS debut, and well, technically Stadia has an iOS debut, just you can't actually stream the games on iOS. It's kind of complicated with Stadia. But Microsoft ended support for the platform after time for its beta program expired. Basically, Apple was clear that the issue is about its App Store policies. So from its perspective, the service would be required to individually submit each playable game for review and approval. According to that, basically, it says that the fact that the games are reviewed by an agency like ESRB doesn't really matter. The rules apply to interactive media in ways that they don't for services like Netflix, YouTube, or Spotify. Very interesting. It also does, however, leave room for remote desktop-style streaming or games hosted on a box locally, but not from cloud. This is a quote from Apple, start quote, "Our customers enjoy great apps and games from millions of developers, and gaming services can absolutely launch on the App Store as long as they follow the same set of guidelines applicable to all developers, including submitting games individually for review and appearing in charts and search. In addition to the App Store, developers can choose to reach all iPhone and iPad users over the web through Safari and other browsers on the App Store." End quote. I'm confused. You can't download apps from outside of the App Store, so maybe they're talking about HTML games. Now, Engadget did reach to Google for a comment, however they were unable to get one. However, Microsoft did send over a response. Start quote, "Our testing period for Project X Cloud Preview app for iOS has expired. Unfortunately, we do not have a path to bring our vision of cloud gaming with Xbox Game Pass Ultimate to gamers on iOS via the App Store. Apple stands alone as the only general purpose platform to deny consumers from cloud gaming and game subscription services like Game Pass. It consistently treats gaming apps differently, applying more lenient rules to non-gaming apps even when they include interactive content. All games available in the Xbox Game Pass catalogue are rated for content by independent industry rating bodies such as ESRB and all regional equivalents. We are committed to finding a path to bring cloud gaming with Xbox Game Pass Ultimate to the iOS platform, and we believe that the customers should be at the heart of the gaming experience, and gamers tell us that they want to play, connect, and share anywhere, no matter where they are. We agree." End quote. That is a quote from Microsoft. We don't have a quote from Nvidia about GeForce Now. I'm unaware if they've reached for a quote. However, this does definitely bring up concerns, and I'm going to go straight into it with antitrust. In my opinion, this is a clear antitrust violation. See, Apple has their own Apple Arcade service that is a subscription fee. Now, this cloud gaming, it literally takes away the need for that if you're not a mobile gamer. If you're not a mobile gamer, then it's simple. You just have access to everything. You basically just get to play your console games, and Apple will probably get no cut from that, and they shouldn't get a cut, to be honest. I really do have an issue with Apple taking a cut, and I have it more with Google. I'm going to go over that now quickly, actually, because I feel like I have probably been unjust in where I speak previously, and I want to set the air straight. So both take a 30% cut, both Google and Apple. Yeah. That's when you go through their services. However, with Google, you have the option to just sidestep their services and go online. There's no restrictions on whether you can or not. You can just sidestep it in the app, as far as I'm aware. With Apple, you have to offer in-app purchases. Also with Google, you have the option not to offer in-app purchases. With Apple, if there is a paid tier to your app, you have to offer an in-app purchase to that paid tier, and you are not allowed to advertise anyway around that. There are exceptions to this rule. Apps like Netflix have an exception to that rule, but the reason that the 30% cut, let's ignore the fact that Google allows people a way around it, which I think is justification for Google enough, and for me to not be angry about Google enough. let's go over the main points of what Apple does differently to Google, as if they both took the 30% cut and that was mandatory. Apple already charges $100 a year. They are getting, so let's say they have 12. We know there's more than 12 developers in that store. There's loads of them. But let's say they're 12. They're getting $1,200 a year regardless of in-app purchases. It's probably there's actually 1.5 million apps on there, and I would count a very large portion of them being from different developers. So yeah, they're getting, I'd say at least, I'm not even going to say 12 million to be honest, that's insane, but they get a lot of money from the App Store just through the yearly alone. And not only that, they then require 30% of any in-app purchases and any subscription for the first year. After the first year, it goes down to 15%. So far, it seems to be that Apple's not really doing anything different. However, here's where it gets different. Google, on the other hand, they offer a way to just sidestep it completely. Heck, you can sidestep their entire App Store if you really choose to. It's all up to the person, up to the developer, and that's what I really love about it. But another thing about Google is that they only make you pay a one-off fee. You pay a one-off fee, you have unlimited apps being distributed to the Google Play Store. Unlimited apps. And this is what I really wish consumers would understand. I don't hate Apple. I don't hate Apple products. I am literally using an iPad for this podcast right now to read my stories off. I use an iPad every day for work, for school, for whatever I need to use it. My primary device that's not my computer is my iPad. My phone's a Samsung phone. I'm not in an ecosystem at all, and I hate it. And I'm probably going to swap to one. I'm just deciding between Samsung or Apple. More likely going to be Samsung, I'm not going to lie. But the fact of the matter is that is irrelevant. Apple is completely anti-competitive. They have total dominion and total control over the App Store. So it's either you go through us or you go through nothing if you want to be on iOS. And that is just wrong, and it takes away consumer choice on so many levels. Yeah. So, that's my opinion on that. Please do remember that my opinion will not be in my articles. There might be a small thing at the bottom, but that won't be opinion, that'll just be consequences of. I won't go into opinion. Trump's WeChat ban. Wow, this could actually be massive. I read this morning, actually. This is massive. So last night, the Trump administration issued a pair of stunning executive orders against Chinese technology companies. The immediate focus was on TikTok, as its parent company ByteDance. But basically, what these executive orders mean is that no companies can make a transaction with these companies from as of September 20th. Yeah, the deadline has been expanded by 5 days. So the second order can have a much more unpredictable impact, targeting WeChat and their parent company, Tencent. Tencent is one of the largest tech companies in the world. I wouldn't say it's the largest, but it has stakes in video game studios, music companies, and social media apps. It's bigger than ByteDance. It owns stakes in Snap, Blizzard, Spotify, and many more. It is embedded in the tech industry. So just to put in some kind of perspective for you here, if this happens, technically could Tencent has a stake, and it is all of Tencent's partnerships. Now, whilst these partnerships for Snap, Blizzard, and Spotify are outside the narrow legal consequences of the order, it's still dangerous. The fact is, Snap, Blizzard, and Spotify, loads of these companies, if Tencent is banned from doing business with US companies, in theory, Tencent would have to sell off their stake in the company, or if it's a majority share, then they could just pull it from the US market. and and if you're in the US, you could lose Snapchat, any Blizzard games, and Spotify. It's massive. However, the main concern currently is WeChat, China's Tencent China-based chat app. So the executive order almost explicitly targets WeChat. So that's fair. However, well, that's according to an anonymous White House official anyway. But we won't know until the 45-day grace period is up what is actually prohibited. So whether it applies to money sent through WeChat or whether it will apply to money transfer between Tencent subsidiaries. Tencent have told the New York Times that they are reviewing the executive order to get a full understanding. Now, WeChat is the dominant chat app in China and also a ubiquitous tool for payments, shopping, and business transactions. Companies large and smaller run almost entirely through it, and its footprint in China has led to some spillover usage in the US. In the US, there are supposedly 1.5 million WeChat users. That's compared to 1 billion in China. So again, a much smaller footprint. WeChat is also deeply embedded in China's various systems for censorship and surveillance. So there are definitely security concerns for a minority of users outside China, and those are legitimate. So if all the order does is block Americans' ability to use WeChat, it'll be limited. But even if he is trying to just limit it to WeChat, it's not clear he's able to do it. The language abroad invoking the IEEPA, which is the International Emergency Economic Powers Act, to prohibit, quote, any transaction that is related to WeChat by any person or of respect to any property subject to the jurisdiction of the United States, with Tencent Holdings Ltd or any subsidiary of that entity as identified by the Secretary of Commerce, end quote. We won't know how strict the Department of Commerce will be about enforcing the rule until enforcement starts, but it's also completely out of Trump's control. Banks and app stores could respond to the order in different ways, and Tencent is likely to retaliate. Any business with a Tencent ownership stake is potentially implicated, since an abrupt departure of Tencent from the market could throw financial situations into chaos in the midst of a global economic crisis. So it's hard to say what the impact could be. However, the scope of the investment show how ugly it could get. Wow, these are holy. Okay, wow. Wow, this is massive. So Tencent owns 100% of Riot Games, which is the developer of League of Legends. So probably no more League of Legends. Tencent is the largest minority owner in Fortnite and Unreal Engine developer Epic Games with a 40% stake. Tencent owns more than 80% of Supercell, the studio behind Clash of Clans. They publish the mobile version of PUBG in China and own more than 11% of developer Bluehole. They also have single-digit stakes in studios such as Blizzard, Ubisoft, and Platinum Games. There is another Tencent messaging app called QQ with several hundred million users, but it predates WeChat and originated as an ICQ-style instant messenger service for Windows. Tencent Pictures is involved in major Hollywood productions like Wonder Woman, Venom, Terminator Dark Fate, as well as Top Gun Maverick, an upcoming film. It's a major film distributor within China and owns minority stakes in a range of smaller production companies. Tencent struck a $1.5 billion 5-year deal with the NBA to bring games to China. Snapchat owner Snap sold a 12% stake to Tencent in 2017. Tencent owns about 14% of Kakao, which runs the Kakao Games platform, and Kakao Talk, which is a popular chat app in South Korea. Not sure how that will affect us. Tencent brought a 10% stake in Universal. Holy! Wow. That's massive. That brought this year its 10% stake in Universal Music Group. Sorry, I did not see this part. Wow. They also have a 9% stake in Spotify, with the two partnering on Tencent Music in China. Now, this order does not mean the new Top Gun will disappear from a release schedule, or Snap will be kicked off the App Store, but doing business with Tencent will be a lot more complicated, as company deals could fall as a result. The NBA could lose hundreds of millions of dollars in the middle of a pandemic, and it could be terrible for gaming. If banks stop transmitting payments to Tencent, then companies like Riot and Supercell could be affected immediately. Games like League of Legends and Clash of Clans could face a kind of operational problems they've never dealt with before, even if the White House doesn't intend to remove them from app stores. The decision will also be made by Apple and Google. Yeah, wow. Jeez. If a ban is fully limited to WeChat, then it's very kind of, why are they so comfortable with Tencent having such deep involvement? And the concerns expressed over TikTok sending user data to China could apply to League of Legends and others as well. So, yeah. And WeChat apparently will put Apple in a uniquely difficult position. Okay. Oh, of course, yes, it has to highlight WeChat in keynotes and product demonstrations for years, because consumers in China use it every day. But if Apple is forced to remove WeChat from the App Store, then consumers in China will stop buying iPhones. An iPhone without WeChat would be even less useful in China, and a Huawei phone without Google is in the West. That is the extent that WeChat matters to them in that country. That's incredible. The implications aren't fully known yet. There's a huge provocation against Tencent, and more is probably going to follow. TikTok is currently getting the mainstream attention in the US, but this attack could be far more significant. Yeah, I'll definitely be keeping you updated on how this happens. We probably won't know much apart from September 20th. So, yeah, that will happen on September 20th. We will find out a lot more. Snapchat could be going. TikTok is going unless Microsoft buys it. Okay, Microsoft, I just thought of this. Microsoft now has to buy the full global operations of TikTok. Actually, I just realised how much this affects it. So previously there would be a little bit of leeway where there would be able to be two separate apps for TikTok, and the non-US version would be able to be used in other countries. That's no longer possible. This ban is very similar to the Huawei ban where Google was stopped. So, okay, this is actually, we're almost coming up on half an hour tag right now, but basically, if Google is banned from doing any business with TikTok and by extension, with ByteDance and by extension TikTok, that means TikTok cannot be in the Google Play Store, and it also means it can't be in the Apple App Store. Just by law, it can't be in there. They can't do anything, any deals with them or anything. There's no way around it. So basically, either Microsoft gets the entire global use of TikTok, or TikTok goes away from most countries in the world apart from US, New Zealand, Canada, and Australia, I believe. Yeah, so we could definitely see, even with a splintered TikTok, we will probably see most TikTok users go to other platforms, and that could be devastating. Yeah, I'll definitely be keeping you updated on this on September 20th. I did not think this would be happening today. Yeah, wow. Thank you everyone for listening. My name is Luke. This is Down Out Digital World, and I'll see you in tomorrow's episode. Also, go check out the website. There will be a link in the description of this episode, and of course there's a link in the main description of the whole podcast. Thanks for listening. My name is Luke, and this is Down Out Digital World.